Time for the round table.
I think men are taught that it's weakness to have emotions, to be emotional, to talk about things, to say, yo, I'm struggling. Let's have the conversation. Let's talk shop talk.
Yeah, boss.
Pastor, would you allow your son see you cry? I grew up, and my father never saw him cry once.
I did
And,
once, actually.
Yeah,
and
those are kind of the cultural issues that we're dealing with. I have two girls.
yeah,
My first girl is a teenager now.
yeah,
Yesterday, I was still talking to her to say, you know what? One of the things that will not change in this house, many things may change, especially as we grow older.
Yeah.
But the one thing that will not change is that we can always talk. So don't bother give me any attitude. Just talk to me.
yeah,
You know that I would always listen,
yeah.
and I don't hide my emotions from you. Yeah. So if I'm angry, you will know.
You will know.
If I'm okay, you will know. And you can also ask me that why are you angry or what's up, all that, And I feel that is one of the things that we need to do differently, because when we can't even
fathers,
talk,
fathers,
The fatherhood aspect is very key. If you look at all the men that are in our generation, we're all brought up. If you trace it, you find out that most of the strong men or whatever, stable men or whatever, it boils down from the strength of the mothers or a woman figure somewhere along the line. For example, for me, it's my mom. So with growing up in my home, my father was there, but I think a lot of the strength and being in touch with your feminine side, quote unquote, of me being a man, helped me deal a lot with not only my wife, but my mother-in-law, my sister, women generally. And once I could deal with that, it helped me become more stable in other areas, professionally, personally, friendship, and all whatnot. Because I always ask the question, why is it that you have two children from the same home acting differently? Because I have a set of twin girls, and already I can see their traits. And I'm like, they're exposed to the same amount of love. They're exposed to the same environment. So what's responsible for one person being a certain way, another person being another way? I mean, I don't have the answer, but it boils down to why the men grow up to become who they are. There's some men that are very timid. There's some men that are 40-something or 30-something, but their worth is in the car they drive or where they live.
And their wristwatch.
And their wristwatch. And then you have a guy who lives in Ajegunle who has
Solid.
one suit, one jacket, one shirt, and he carries it with pride.
Solid.
So the dynamics of courage. So that the dynamics is just
You're beginning to
I
touch
can
on,
even manage a woman better.
you're
Yeah.
beginning to touch on
That
things
is
like
all
value
the
system and all.
outings
Yeah.
But before we go too far, if you don't mind, bro, you're your doctor. So, how much of mental health is actually disease inclined, or how do I say? You know what I'm saying? Because I think let's make a demarcation between what the intangible ones and the one that's actually clinical.
Okay, so fantastic. Now, let me just backtrack and say, Nigeria, for example, we don't really talk about mental health because our point of reference for training and life is either the church or the mosque or family. Most of us were trained in that community. The old church, or in those days, mental health was demonic. So if I'm bipolar, I had a demon. Think about it. I don't know about Islam, so I have no context for that. And then in family, if I'm bipolar, they say it's not in a family. It's not in us. So mental health in Nigeria, like many other health issues, are at the back burner. And I must say that the backlash of you opening up yourself to that is much.
A lot of stigma.
The stigma is real. That's one. Two is, I'm not sure. So y'all are cool people. So yeah, but I'm not sure most people have done their cardiac check this year or their blood sugar this year, or their. So think about doing a mental assessment Nobody has done it on this table.
Is there a checklist for mental?
Yes, there's a
because
there's a checklist.
I mean, it also sounds so fancy. I'm very
No, there's a
professional.
mental checklist.
But if a child was kleptomaniac in Africa,
Yes.
they whoop that attitude out of him. You are stealing something. You understand?
Yeah, so
So are you trying to say you need medicine? You understand? No, because and this is
Can you take pills and be okay, basically?
With-
At the end of the cycle, I'm
So-
mentally ill, I go into a hospital, I'm
Yeah.
diagnosed mentally ill, I take
yeah,
some aspirin and I'm done.
Yeah, but then
can be
see,
treated.
yeah. So, for example, in the U.S., in the foreign countries' judicial system,
In the abroad.
in
go
the
on.
abroad, people can do stuff and they go scot-free because of mental.
including the child that is stealing. That they call klepto there, but here he the thief.
Wait,
Flog
Frank,
down.
Frank, hold on. This klepto thing is twice you spoke. What happened to you?
Frank!
What happened to you?
You know, but the thing is, because you hear a lot of stories, some of them are very
Yeah,
scary.
yeah,
Somebody
so-
picks a gun, goes into a school, terminates the life of 20 innocent
And
people,
they say
then
mental care.
Guess what? He's
I-
probably the child of a rich person or not, you know, and then say, you know, he's sick,
I
he should be
think-
cared for.
The thing is, I think that for me personally, and I'm not coming from a medical background,
Yeah.
but to me, I feel like there are two sides to the same coin. Where you can go in, justify something because you say that the person is mentally ill.
Not mentally
But my
stable.
point is that even if that is the problem, even if that is the case, we need to start being able to root out issues and deal with them. And I believe it's part of the reason about speaking to people. I don't know a single person in this country that says, okay, I've had emotional issues, I've had this, and I talk to a therapist. We don't do
it's
it.
not cultural.
And we need to deal with that.
I will even shock you. I think pastors are overburdened.
Yeah.
I think some
And
people.
to also
The guy said yes.
No,
No,
you
to
go
add
on.
to that is
You
to
go on.
say that
Pastors
in
are
addition,
overburdened.
for instance, in our church, at a point, I had to insist that all the pastors, all the counselors go for counseling. I mean, go for training.
Training.
Okay.
Yeah, do some training
On psychology,
in psychology, psychotherapy, and all that. Just get yourself together. Get some skill. You understand? Because that then makes it even a lot easier. Because the amount of issues that you get to deal with
Can
on
make
a
you
regular
even
basis,
flip.
and going back to what he was talking about, the real issues is that when you live in the third world, it has its own peculiarities. Yeah.
poverty.
And those things mount a lot of pressure.
Pressure cracks you, man.
Because the main issue that is, in my own opinion, as someone who just deals with people, counsel and all that, and also a leadership consultant and all, you get into the loop of organizations and family and see what's going on there. People don't know how to manage pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure from finances, pressure from relationships, pressure from how you move your career and businesses forward. When that piles up, it can lead to mild depression. The average guy on the street of Lagos is probably depressed.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
there's no gauge to measure depression. Nobody's talking
That's
about
like-
it.
that's
Yes.
very
So
interesting.
there is.
People in
Nobody's
the
talking
are they more
about it.
depressed than bitter, or more bitter than depressed?
Wait, can I?
The difference between both is not...
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the difference between both is not, it's just a
And-
thin line
and this-
between you're bitter about something and it's running
Because what
you
you need to
crazy.
do is just hoot your horn at someone in traffic or indicate on Tommy Lambry that you want to change lanes.
Right.
Almost that's the time the guy's going to remember that he has a pedal in his car to accelerate. Mark block you down for no, like you want to take the street out of his destiny.
But so it was like a tale of someone called, it's like the tale of the 99 coins. There's this really rich guy who is struggling. He's not happy. He's hurt. He's emotionally depressed, but he's rich and he should be happy, based on it that he have everything that he could want or desire. He could afford it, and he goes to his pastor and he's like, "Why is that this poor guy and this guy looks so happy?" And the guy says, "Because he has not experienced the 99 coins." So what the rich guy does, he goes to the guy and he gives him 99 coins, leaves it at the door. And the guy opens it, finds it in the morning, and he counts all the coins, and they're 99. And this thing should be enough to give him everything he wants, everything he desires. But to his calculation, why would someone give me something and not give me 100? So now he spends the rest of his life toiling for the one
coin
that he doesn't have.
Loses focus of
Loses focus on the 99 that he has. And I think we've gone to a position where we, as human beings, we look at wealth and it's like people that have money, they have all the money they need to live, do everything they want, to give to their children, give to their children's children, but they're driven by the fact that they need more. Whereas you get people that don't have, and because they appreciate the little, they appreciate that I've got enough to eat today, and tomorrow God provides enough for me to eat tomorrow.
It actually
they
makes you
find
appreciate
that
that
happiness.
context of don't worry about what tomorrow will bring. I had an experience with a friend, Sensei Oji, who was diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
And long story short, I got to travel with him to Istanbul, and that trip was one, I know. It changed my mindset about what I should be bothered about and what I shouldn't be. We were spending an average of ₦1 million every 3 weeks for chemo. He was literally
crowdfunding.
It was crowdfunding. That's even, assuming we even got all the money. But the point is, we got to a point where things just don't matter as much anymore. And it helped me to reassess what matters. There are days when you get maybe ₦1 million in your account and you feel it should make you feel a certain way, and it doesn't. And there are days when your account is empty, but you achieved something and you feel like $1 million. So the context of this mental illness has a lot to do with the perception I think people have. It might sound very scientific now, but I've been through that process, and it's either you get somebody to guide you into that realm, or you discover it yourself, which is where I think the psychologists come in. They help you. They don't give you an answer. They just readjust your perception on things and let you see it in a half-full way. But nobody is, and that has to do with talking.
Yeah, and it's just so instructive, when you talk about the concept of half filled or half empty. And it's all about your perspective, to be able to draw the line between contentment and ambition. Yeah, to say I'm not where I want to be, but I'm good where I am. I thank God for where I am on the way to where I'm going. Yeah, and you wake up on a daily basis with a sense of contentment. Even the Holy Word says godliness with contentment is great gain. Even if you're godly, but you're not content, you're going to misbehave. Yeah. That's why you see most people today who even carry religion on their heads misbehaving. Because you have a form of godliness, but there's no contentment. And, it just messes you up. Yeah.
I hate to be the bringer of bad news, but let's look at it this way.
The child that steals.
No, I hate to no. Calm down. But look, I appreciate all we've said so far. Contentment is very important. Ambition and getting greedy. You need to know draw the line. We live in Nigeria.
Hard.
Africa.
Hard.
Look, every single minute you are alive, you are burning naira, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You understand? For us to sit here today, we had to buy clothes and put on our body. I mean, sure, the organizers wouldn't have allowed you to come in here if you were stark naked. You
tried to, but
well, you see what I mean? The electricity, the cameras cost money.
Yeah.
The water we are drinking, somebody paid for it and put it in the refrigerator and paid NEPA bill. You understand? Now, when you live in a country where, oh boy, you better know, as you are drinking this water, be calculating how the next cold water is going to be sure.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
You understand?
Because
I would have really sat down and said, okay, let's just be contented. But
it's real.
If you don't by December, by August, start calculating how January next year rent is going to be. You're in trouble by December.
So how do you draw that line? Or is there a line?
There are many lines you have to draw. I listen to this guy a lot. His name is Simon Sinek. And I think you all should listen to him more. And he wrote a book called Start With Why. And Start With Why, a book with why. And he said that the Generation Z and millennials, one thing that would be key to them is fulfillment. For our fathers, it wasn't fulfillment, it was legacy, it was status, not fulfillment.
Again, the value system.
Yeah. Now, there's a pastor here, and from a Christian point of view, our point of reference should be the Bible. So God should be the one to define us. So for example, my poverty can't define me. I should define it. But that's from a pastor's point of view. In healthcare, in mental health, men specifically, we are battered emotionally, emotional abuse. So there's something called emotional abuse. I am back in school. I realized that a husband and wife came to, I was doing my obs and gynae then, and did he have children? And when they came, we were talking. So we consult the man and say, please, we'll do your sperm count, we do both. Men are always very edgy. Like, sir, can I do your sperm count?
Are you saying there's a problem?
Me? Very, yeah. So when the woman left this man broke down and started crying. He broke down.
Without even getting the results?
When he left the room and he was talking to us, the doctor he just started crying. He said, why? He said, for the past, I think it's about 6 years, that the woman's mother has told the man to pack off the house, that this is him. He has, and I realized that, now, let me say it out there, I'm for both men and women, but a lot of men are abused. A lot of men are abused emotionally. Same with you. I don't know why they made marriage in such a way that they say a man must provide.
It goes back to the context.
Yeah. And even if he can't provide for now, he must die. He must just... So the pressure on a man... So now I keep saying women ought to go to the Lord. So this is not trying to, but in the context of this conversation, my God, this man cried for.
And you see, that's
because do you know why? Because he felt so horrible.
Yeah, the reality of it.
Something that we kind of need to look at for me is that yes, and you're talking about it because for me, mental and emotional abuse is such a deep thing because it's so subtle. We do not realize so often the grounding of what is being done or what's happening to you. I feel like you hear stories of people.
They compare you.
You talk about. I mean, there's a time that Coach Larry Lucia told me that he was telling a story about a relationship and the couple he came to. And they were talking about it, and the man used to abuse the woman physically. And it was wondered what the source of the reason was why. And they talked, and the more they talked, they realized that any time that he'd get angry, it was always after she'd finished using the toilet, using the bathroom, and she'd gone to brush her teeth. And it was because they got down to the way that she didn't squeeze her toothpaste from the bottom but from the middle. And when he was growing up in his home, his parents had always said, what kind of stupid person squeezes the toothpaste from the middle? Wow. And sometimes we don't realize the source of things that get to us. The little things that happen when you're young, that happen in your surroundings when you go to school, they have such a huge effect on the way you grow up. And if we don't get to the source of this problem, they grow into things, and the issue becomes if you don't deal with it early, you find it so hard to find the source. You would not even know where the source of that thing was.
What even makes it worse is you don't know.
The source you won't know where it is coming from. And the problem is half solved when it is known.
And when you realize it, you're relieved, but you almost like, seriously? Like, that was it. And it's little drops. That's the scarring. It's just a comment here. But Frank is doing well in the industry. I mean, he has a house, he has a car. You've been here 40 years. You've not.
They compare.
So that comparison is
those
one.
Things
and then
men.
I think it would be very wrong of us not to include the role of social media in this context, because the eye is the soul, is the doorway to the mind. If I got that right, and what people see feeds their mind. I heard somewhere an audio book where there was an analogy of the mind, and they said the mind is like soil. That soil doesn't give a rat's ass as to what goes in. If you put in an orange seed, it gives you back an orange tree. If you put in an apple seed, it gives you back an apple tree. So whatever you put in your mind is what it will give back, which is why they say mind's a terrible thing to waste. So a lot of us in this generation are fed by what we see. And you'd be like, but I'm more talented than Frank. I'm funnier. I'm more good looking and blah, blah, blah. And then unconsciously, the little drops of even yourself, you inflict emotional pain on yourself by starting to like analyze and like, okay, if I did this and did this and did this, I've prayed, I fasted, I have my degree, I have my master's, my PhD, but I'm not happy. You know, you now start doing that. And then when you now have people who will literally point the finger at you, then the scarring begins.
When we swing this discussion into the arena of relationship,
Oh, boy.
when I got married, one of the issues I had to deal with, one, is that I really felt like she was going to take me for granted. Yeah. So I was very defensive. Yeah. My wife had a different background from me. She was more touche, like we say. I came from a polygamous home. She had a single parent. Her dad was a retired, army officer, a colonel.
Solid,
You know,
man.
everything was together.
Arranged.
She schooled. A part of her schooling was in the U.S.
Hey!
Part of growing up, I grew up with an accent, and went to school in Ibadan, all those kind of things.
Real.
So already, one thing that didn't dawn on me was that there has to be something good about you for this lady to decide to marry you, despite this disparity in background. In the first 5 years of our marriage, I was still thinking that anything she said, it was about throwing a jab at me about something or about that. But she married me. You understand? Many men are like that. We react. We're carrying. Sometimes we're carrying burdens that we're not supposed to carry. Things we just lay ourselves into. Some of us have more expectation of ourselves than even the people that we're blaming. Because we've done a lot to ourselves.
And taking it further, I'm saying, if I have malaria, I go to buy Fancida. If I have this, I go to buy this. We need to create social health care services or something that allow men, allow everybody, but allow men receive some help.
So now that we're there, sorry to cut in, why don't we, for the benefit of people that are watching and also with that ahead, so why don't we try and identify mental ill health and emotional ill health? For example, let's all share our experiences. Because once we identify what we're trying to tackle, then we'll come up with a solution like Pastor Godman said.
Shoot.
And I'm sure we will. First of all, I think when you get angry very quickly,
rage,
unnecessarily,
rage,
from home rage to street to traffic,
rage.
road rage.
See, most men have rage.
Once any small thing tips you off, you explode. Bam! Any small thing, like bam, you always. It's an indication for me. So let's go around like that.
The funny thing is, I actually think that one of the huge sources of things, and I learned it in the course of this last week, because when I think pride is a massive thing. Pride is a massive thing, and you don't even realize because I was doing a film this last week, and I'm one of those people. I've always regarded myself as I'm timely. I don't like to be late for things because I always taught that this time is money, please. So I'm a very timely person. So for me I had on the very first day, it just sets me off in the wrong direction. So I was like, I got there early because they said, oh no, come earlier, we'll do your scenes earlier so you can be done. They kept me for 5 hours before we even started shooting. And that sets in frustration. And I realized it was a pride thing actually, because what it is that I thought I'm a tiny person, therefore if you're not timely, you're less than, or you're not doing enough, and you have insulted my character by doing that. And I think pride is such a massive thing because you get angry with people because you think that their behavior is less than yours or is not good enough, does not compare.
I think I'll lean more to standard than pride. You have standards, and there's nothing wrong with that. If we're in this gathering, that's where I'm coming, because
when your strength is taken too far,
and you're drinking.
It becomes a weakness.
So that's when it becomes.
I like that. When your strength is taken too far, it becomes a weakness. I like that.
Most African men have this disorder, and it's called grandiose. Most African men have feeling of grandiose.
Is that a disease?
It's a disease.
Really?
Yes, it is. It's a
It
psychological.
sounds
It's a
smooth. It sounds
mental.
cool.
It means you overrate yourself.
Oh.
You overrate. It is.
serious
It's yes.
It has nothing to do with politicians, right?
I don't know.
I'm just no, it's not like that.
And then most men are depressed. So depression is
Another one.
maybe the most common
Let me.
mental.
I even want to shock you more. When you're talking about stories, I'm still trying to figure out what is that thing that makes you, as a human being, realize that this is a tipping point. You can either be stronger, or you can just fold under and buckle. And that question is very key to address the symptoms and how people can be helped. My lowest ebb was when I was in secondary school, and there was this continuous assessment where everybody, the best 10 students were read out in the auditorium, and everybody was striving for top 10. So I came in from London straight into GS3. So I read GS1, GS2, GS3 in GS3. And I came out with 9 C's, 2 P's. There was no B, so it was C's or A's. And I felt like a failure. When I look back, I was like, dude, you tried. Like, you read 3 years worth of books in 1 year. Fast forward to the nickname I was given. I was given this nickname, Read Wide. That is, we're 27 in a class. So I would read, like, we all read, then you go. I'll still be reading. Results come out, I'm 26. Over 27. So this kept happening back to back. And whenever I feel down or depressed or I feel I can't do it, I always go back to that moment in time. Now, my question is, what made me realize that you can become first? And I did end up becoming first. In fact, those that were criticizing me, making fun of me, never attained that. I only attained it once in my time, I think in SS2, before I left. And it showed me that, dude, you can actually do it. And I held on to that moment, and that became my anchor point. But I didn't know any psychologists. I didn't know anything called mental depression. I didn't know all these terminologies. So what is responsible for somebody innately just
staying through?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll be unfair to say I know. Why? Because people have the same anchor points. Your mother might have been encouraging you through. God might have been encouraging you through. I spoke to a suicide, a person who survived suicide. I've told them, and once told me that, I'm a psychologist too, but just from church, and one told me that, that do you know when you want to commit suicide, you are at peace. I'm like, no, that you don't fear suicide. That you are
fear
suicide, that you are peace.
Come to a point of resolution.
Yeah, you are peace.
And you
That
peace with
I'm
yourself,
done.
that you will do this.
That is the most peaceful. Is the most peaceful. That is the most peaceful states. Yeah.
You resolve.
You resolved. Research also shows medically that the reason why women survive more suicide is because they try it with non-harmful things. They take pills. While men do gone, men have the strength to hang themselves. Read about it. So they lean to drugs. Women overdose. They want to die peacefully, while a man is supposed to go. Now, this topic can last for 10 hours because there are many factors that bring insecurities. One factor is education. In Finland, they've stopped education, They've changed the pattern of education. Some people are not meant to write 2 + 2 is 4. Some people are musical. Some people should swim. Some people should.
In Germany, they're like that too. They do testing
They
to
test.
see what
So it's so deep. Some people are not meant. So they put you through a process where you are unfairly judged.
The key thing for me, I mean,
Is
when Frank was asking about some of
Identifying.
those issues, we inflict a lot of stuff on ourselves as a people that eventually lead to low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because low self-esteem is a real serious issue. Just like talking about anger, and all those
So
things.
low self-esteem mental or emotional?
No, it's an emotional
It's an
state
emotional
because
state.
it's about
Emotional
how you
health.
see yourself based on either your background, what you have been through, or
Your last name.
your last name, what you have suffered in life,
then you compare.
what people say to
About
you, said to you in childhood, are saying to you right now. Everything put together creates how you feel about yourself. Because a low self-esteem is an offshoot of how I feel about myself.
That's why I find it hard to believe. Not that you're wrong, but that you can just take some pills and
So-
it to be
so
okay.
this is more than that. No, of course. Okay, so it's way more than that. Now, if you in my house job, for example, I worked with the military in Yaba, and there's a psychiatry home. So we go there for 6 weeks to practice. We have people who are hugely depressed. It's way much more than that. Now, some people are medically ill. People stay there for 3 years, 4 years in confinement for depression. So one day you all should go and visit a psychiatric place. It's way more than that. Now, everybody here has to also do a course in sociology, because the future of the world is a social world. So it's called convergence, where religion will converge with health, with music. The world is becoming one thing, and it's called sociology. Now, with that said, I spoke to Pastor earlier, and he made a strong point. He said there are 3 places or 4 places that can bring light to a community: the government, the family, the church, or the mosque. Religion. The government, so now let's not go to Nigeria. The government, we thank God for the government. It's not a joke, it's real.
The government is from the family. That's what some people argue.
That's the thing.
Yes. It's a cycle.
Family is where it starts.
So it's family.
Things start in family.
So yes, so the government, let's push away. The religious sects. So it's family. It's family. So
I think it's so wide. For me,
it's wide, but
it's small. That's the thing. And I
It's
think
wide,
to
it's
get
small.
to a point, because like I said, when I think is one of the grounded issues, and I just want to round up because time. But for me, that aspect of family is so important, because like we talk about all the little issues, every little thing, they start somewhere, and your starting point is in the home. If you in your initial reaction or response to the world is even within a home, if it's within a family concept, we look at mother and father, but how many people have just a father or just a mother? So you look at the different situations, and it's about starting there, and there being created a situation where people are able to speak to people, where there's communication, where parents can talk to people.
Half of the gay people going through the gay issues were abused by uncles.
And that's the thing.
I know.
So it's not that they're gay, but
I think everything. My personal belief when it comes to things like that is that God did not create people that way. Therefore, it's your response to the environment and things that have happened to you.
Around you, and so
if you're abused
by your
and
uncle,
you feel, and you don't talk about it, and some part of it stays with you, and
becomes a way of life.
so things can happen, and I feel like we need to get to the root of issues. So we need, and that the only way of really getting there is getting people young. It's having those conversations, instilling those values, instilling those mentalities, that ability to speak to one another. And like I said, this is not a topic that we're ever going to get to the end of right now.
The takeaways will be, if somebody is watching, whatever state you are in now, you can get out of it. You just need to identify those that you can talk to. And offload, but you just need to offload. And once you offload, that's the first step. So the first step is find someone you can talk to. And it doesn't matter who this person is, or where this person is from, or what religion, or what country. Just find someone to talk to first. That would be my giveaway.
So, I guess what I would say in terms of openness is just that and to round up, if there's anyone, I don't know if anyone here wants to tap into it, freedom. If people that are watching want to and feel like they don't have someone they can speak to, Instagram, DM, it's available.
It's fine.
And just
it's fine.
someone to start talking to. So
I would end with, clinically, it is not a sin to be bipolar, to have clinical mental health issues. So you have to go to hospitals, seek assessments. Your cousins, your family, your friends, help them be on the drugs. That's one. 2 is in psychology, people need to find meaning. Meaning is the key. And most people have not found meaning. Now, through church, we find meaning. And through other means, just try because meaning is the anchor. So that when pressure comes, because this is the truth, the next generation don't know how to deal with pressure.
Oh, they can't deal with it.
They don't. That's why they don't know how to deal with pressure. Because they are a mix of many
apart from that, they've not even solidified.
Yeah, and
they've not become complete.
And they're already out there. So mine is seek healthcare and then try and find meaning.
What I'll say is, for all of us, we need to change our approach to how we see emotional illnesses and all that. When you have a friend who is down with malaria, simple malaria, or backache, you don't tell them, let's go for a gig. Somebody says, I can't stand well, my back is hurting. You don't say, let's go clubbing. You tell the guy, lie down, you know, and all that. When you see somebody who is unwell emotionally, we need to have that same kind of reaction to them and not to blame them. If somebody is down with malaria, you don't blame them for being down with malaria.
Yeah.
So if somebody is depressed, they're not talking, they'll be a bit irrational or, you know, cranky. Don't add to it, you know, by just going down on them, as you know, because we need to, as a people, we need to recognize that it's a real thing we're dealing with, and the emotional illnesses are not things that people generally cause for themselves. Just like you don't make yourself sick, you know, physiologically. So psychologically too, we need to understand. And secondly and lastly, is we all also need to learn to be vulnerable. Yeah. We need to learn to be vulnerable. You can create a controlled environment for your vulnerability. You can be open with your vulnerability, whatever suits you. But whether in the controlled environment, whether, like Oscar was saying, anybody that's ready to listen, notwithstanding religion or ethnicity, whatever will help you, just know that keeping stuff to yourself will not lead you anywhere.
Thank you so much for having us, guys. For having us. Thank you so much for being hard.
Why
Thank you so much
did
for
I
coming.
show?
You know what? It's so weird. I did that last time as well. I'm used to being a guest.